Dark Evil Cliff was deep in the forest directly opposite the falling Ghost River. Along the way, the pupils of the 6 major sects encountered a lot of miasma and demonic beasts. After that, they were attacked by 6 waves of devil cultivators consecutively. Once they entered the opponent's array, they didn't even need to break the array at all with an array compass, as Ming Xiu could find the weak point and cut through the array with his own strength. Under the great power of Ming Xiu, not a single pupil was injured. The impressive strength he revealed also completely shocked the pupils of the 6 major sects. The number 1 pupil of the inner sect of the Heavenly Secret Palace was indeed well deserved. Ming Xiu's white clothes were without dust, his steps were light, like a fallen immortal, elegant and noble, giving people a feeling of unattainability, which made many female pupils want to come forward but stop, only watching his silhouette with growing infatuation. Lu Muyan's eyes were clear. She indeed had love for Ming Xiu between that of a man and woman, and she, who had been single for 2 lives, also wanted to find a man who she could stand side by side with and pursue the great path together. Ming Xiu was the first man who made her heart move. That feeling was a little wondrous. Although love at first sight was a bit exaggerated, but it was true that feelings grew subconsciously in the very few meetings she had with him. Of course, she wasn't a daughter who needed to cling to a man to survive. Moreover, the level of relationship they established between them was mostly built on feelings, and they had never experienced life and death together, so the feelings she had for Ming Xiu weren't that deep, and it was even less likely that she would lose her way because of him. Strengthening her path's heart and pursing the great path of an ultimate powerhouse was still her biggest pursuit at present. Brother Kai's array attainments are too strong. Could it be that you've already become a grade 5 array master? Han Yi saw Ming Xiu split open a great array again, and easily slay the 3 initial phase sword venerable devil cultivators. He suppressed the shock in his heart and asked tentatively with a smile. Ming Xiu replied with a smile, I have indeed advanced to grade 5 array master. Han Yi's test was also what other people thought. After knowing that he was already a grade 5 array master, many pupils all sucked in a deep breath. He was only 22 years old yet was already so talented in arrays. He was almost as good as the number 1 array master among the inner pupils of the 8 extreme sect. Lu Muyan's eyes overflowed with a small smile. Ming Xiu only said that he was a grade 5 array master, yet these people were shocked. If they knew that this guy was already a grade 7 array master, then wouldn't their jaws drop from shock? Not to mention Ming Xiu, even she was already a grade 5 array master. It seemed that it wasn't something to make a big fuss over. If the pupils of the 6 major sects who specialized in arrays heard Lu Muyan's inner thoughts, then wouldn't they feel suffocated to death? Who could compare with these 2 abnormal monsters? Wherever grade 5 array masters went on the entire Tianling continent, they were the objects that others catered to, and they could also become more powerful elders in the Array Masters Alliance. Brother Kai's talent in arrays is truly amazing. Gu Xiu quickly restrained the shock in his eyes and said with a smile, I heard that Brother Qi had advanced to a grade 5 smith a year ago. With Brother Kai's smithing talents, I'm afraid that you're not far from grade 6, yes? There's still some distance. Ming Xiu smiled lightly and didn't say much. The others couldn't ask any more now, but they were all amazed, and an unsurpassable sense of respect for him grew in their hearts. Ming Xiu was known as the number 1 person in the inner sect of the Heavenly Secret Palace, not only because of his talent in arrays and smithing, but also because of his talent in cultivation. Ming Xiu, has your smithing skills reached grade 7? Lu Muyan asked telepathically. Ming Xiu's eyes that were as deep as a sea of stars melted into a soft color. I just entered grade 7 some time ago. Abnormal monster. Lu Muyan raised an eyebrow and uttered 2 words after a moment. One must know that the highest evaluation level of the smiths on Tianling continent was only grade 10, and it was said that the number 1 person on the continent was only a grade 8 smith. It wasn't impossible to break through grade 10 with Ming Xiu's powerful talent. You can also refine grade 6 pills, right? Ming Xiu's gentle and clear voice carried a smile. I can barely make grade 6 pills. The firmness in Lu Muyan's eyes grew stronger. But it was because she cultivated to the core formation stage to be able to refine grade 6 pills, and she even had to use a spirit flame, so her strength still needed to be improved. Her cultivation speed was already very fast in the eyes of others, but it was in fact the result of her constant suppression, otherwise she would probably already have advanced to peak phase sword sovereign by now. Your talent for alchemy is indeed strong. Ming Xiu also didn't expect Lu Muyan to actually be able to refine grade 6 pills, so at the same time as being surprised, there was also an indescribable pride. The fact that his array and smithing skills could reach grade 7 wasn't simply because of his excelling talent, but also because he had things to rely on. However, her alchemy skills was something that even he was amazed at with his identity. By the way, what level of magic tool is the ice bangle you gave me? Lu Muyan thought about it and still asked the question in her heart. Ming Xiu heard the words ice bangle and glanced at Lu Muyan's slender wrist. A smile like a spring breeze rose on his lips. I'm also not sure, but the ice bangle has been passed down as the most valuable treasure by my maternal clan, so it's at the very least a divine tool. He didn't want to show off to Lu Muyan how valuable the thing he gifted her was, but only hoped that she would better understand this ice bangle and activate its wonderful uses. Aren't you afraid of punishment for giving me the most valuable treasure of your maternal clan? Lu Muyan's brows were furrowed together slightly. This is what my mother gave me to give to her future daughter-in-law. Since I've decided on you, it's naturally yours. Ming Xiu didn't hide it either. The corner of Lu Muyan's lips twitched. I believe that the ice bangle was gifted to me when we first met, right? Could it be that you fell in love with this miss then? At the time, I only thought that you were rather interesting and didn't really truly like you. But there was a voice in my heart that told me to give it to you. Later, it was proved that the judgment in my heart was correct. You're the woman I want to find to spend the rest of my life with. Ming Xiu's tone was sincere, and it was indeed from deep in his heart. Lu Muyen chuckled and teased, it seems that this miss is so exceptionally charming that you fell in love with me at first sight. Ming Xiu listened to her silver bell-like laughter and his heart fluttered. If it wasn't for the fact that the occasion wasn't suitable, he really wanted to pull her into his arms and hug her tightly. My woman is naturally exceptionally charming. You're truly enough. Lu Muyen found that Ming Xiu's romantic words made her more and more unable to resist. His skin was too thick. I said it according to my heart. The corners of Ming Xiu's lips rose again. Lu Muyen smiled and changed the topic. Do you know the uses of the ice bangle? I know a little. Ming Xiu said, the ice bangle is an ancestral item passed down on my maternal clan side, and was only passed on to the daughter-in-law. Although it's been passed down for dozens of generations, but the person who can truly let it recognize as owner had never appeared. I heard from my mother that when the ice bangle is activated, it has the effect of promoting the growth of spiritual herbs. As for more of its usefulness, it'll only be known when it recognizes an owner. If the ice bangle recognizes an owner, as their cultivation base increases, more of it will also gradually be activated. There are bound to be unexpected surprises. Ming Xiu finished in one breath. Lu Muyen was stunned. What surprised her most was that the ice bangle had been passed down for so many generations and yet none of them were successfully recognized as owners. But she was obviously connected with the ice bangle, and the gentleness and kindness it spread towards her meant that it had recognized her as owner. Seeing that Lu Muyen's eyes revealed a bit of a different look, with a thought, Ming Xiu flicked the sleeve of his left hand and a cyan-colored bangle similar to the ice bangle suddenly appeared on his wrist. I also have a cyan bangle which is a pair with the ice bangle, can you see it? One of them was ahead and one was behind as they rushed, and they constantly used divine sense telepathy. Lu Muyen lowered her eyes and saw the cyan bangle that suddenly appeared on Ming Xiu's wrist. I can see it. Can you hide it? Yen, it seems that we're really destined to be a fated couple. Ming Xiu's voice was filled with a rare excitement. The only man and woman who had been recognized as owners of the cyan bangle and the ice bangle at the same time are only the two of us. Is this pair of bangles made by someone from your maternal clan? Lu Muyen asked curiously. To be able to refine such powerful divine tools, or possibly even divine treasures, then how high was the level and talent of that smith? It said that an almighty in my maternal clan made it to gift to his beloved woman, but when he had finished refining this pair of bangles, his beloved died in an accident, and that almighty actually followed and buried himself together. The blood essence of the two people eventually merged into this pair of bangles, and they became tool spirits. He left a legacy before his death. The heir of the clan each generation can refine the cyan bangle and gift the ice bangle to the woman in his heart. If both of them can get the recognition of the bangles as owners, then they don't need to pass it on anymore. But if one party couldn't be recognized as owner, then they must be passed on to the next generation to continue the inheritance, until the day when the two bangles recognize the owners together. Ming Xiu said leisurely. Lu Muyen didn't expect the ice bangle to have such a story, so that's how it is. Were there destined people? Ming Xiu smiled merrily and said, by the way, after your cultivation base reaches Sword Venerable, as long as you activate the second layer of the bangle, then you can hide it freely. Even a sword deity can't discover it. Looking at the tall, handsome man's back, Lu Muyen murmured softly. Judging from the level of the two bangles, they weren't only mysterious but also of high level, and they didn't look like something that this continent should have. Ming Xiu's identity also wouldn't be as simple as Monarch Ming of the 9 Layers Hall of Tianling continent either. The corner of Lu Muyen's lips hooked up. She knew that Ming Xiu hoped that she would get to know him little by little, so she naturally wouldn't disappoint his expectations. One day, she would slowly reveal his true identity, and she liked to deepen her love for him in this way. How boring would it be if the secrets of the two were exposed and disclosed in front of each other just like this? She rubbed the ice bangle and felt its joy for her, and the curvature of the corners of her lips gradually deepened. She sure was looking forward to the surprises when the second layer of the ice bangle was activated. When the several people reached the top of the mountain, they saw the missing pupils of the 6 major sects all lying unconscious on a huge stone. They're actually really here. The leading pupil of the vast mountain sect glanced at the abyss surrounded by dark evil force in the distance in fear. His gaze was complicated as he looked at the pupils lying on the boulder, then asked Ming Xiu, they let us find them this easily, could there be any tricks? They've tried this hard to lead us to come here, so their purpose definitely isn't pure. Everyone should be careful. Ming Xiu nodded and said. Clap clap. Then a series of claps sounded and a handsome man in purple loomed out from behind the boulder. He looked at them with deep intent and said, the 6 major sects are indeed the top forces of Tianling continent. You've arrived much faster than I expected. With his appearance, all the men in black lurking in the vicinity came out. Who are you? What is your purpose of luring us here? Ming Xiu looked at the man and asked lightly. The purple-clothed man chuckled, naturally we're people who will take your lives. Then a man in black behind him leaned to his ear and said, Second Commander, the array has been activated. Good job. The purple-clothed man smiled and patted the shoulder of the person beside him, but then who would have expected that he grabbed that person's neck and said, you should sacrifice yourself for the dark soul beast. As soon as the purple-clothed man's voice fell, Lu Muyen and the others saw that he had twisted the man's neck and even stabbed him, then tossed him in front of them. Blood flowed from the man's body and instantly a bloody scent spread throughout. A black light cover rose from the ground and tried to trap the pupils of the 6 major sects within it. Both Ming Xiu and Lu Mu Yen noticed the change. Be careful. Hurry up and separate. After Ming Xiu reminded the others, he landed beside Lu Mu Yen in a flash, took her into his arms, and when he reappeared, he was already beside the boulder while the others didn't have such reaction speed, so they were all trapped within the array. Of course, the two didn't hug each other any longer when they reappeared. At the moment of danger, the first thing that Ming Xiu thought of was Lu Mu Yen, and his actions moved with his mind as he took her away. In fact, Lu Mu Yen was also ready to escape, but Ming Xiu was a step faster and took her out of the range of the array. The scent of blood grew stronger and stronger, and the black light cover of the array rippled. A dark black beast suddenly emerged from below the ground and sucked out the soul of the dead man in black and swallowed it. What the hell is this thing? The leading pupil of the vast mountain sect saw the giant black beast that emerged from the hole, covered with eerie scales, its eyes not only as large as buckets, but also glowed with a green light. With only one look, it was truly terrifying. Jean Sei rolled her eyes, and while surprised, she said without a good attitude, the man just now said that he would make a sacrifice for the Dark Soul Beast, so this monster must be the Dark Soul Beast in legend that's said to be born from dark evil force and specifically devours the souls of humans and demonic beasts. The Dark Soul Beast was a kind of soul beast cultivated by a devil cultivator. It was powerful and ferocious by nature, and the conditions for raising it were very strict. It must have been raised in a crypt with dark evil force. The growth of the Dark Soul Beast was extremely sinister, and it must erode and devour the souls of demonic beasts and human sword masters that only just died to be able to advance in cultivation base. TSK. I didn't expect that there's a unique person in this group of trash. The man in purple casually glanced at the people trapped in the array, then locked his eyes on the peerless Ming Xiu. Because he saw how Ming Xiu moved to take Lu Mu Yen away from the array earlier, plus her average cultivation base, so she was directly ignored by him. In his eyes, Lu Mu Yen was a woman who used her beauty to cling to and rely on Ming Xiu. Those wandering cultivators and mercenaries who disappeared and died are the people you all lured and trapped in an array to let the Dark Soul Beast to devour, yes? Ming Xiu's eyes were still indifferent, but his voice was piercingly cold, and our 6 major sects were also plotted against by you. Indeed. This Dark Soul Beast is about to advance, but it lacked the energy it needed to advance. While you 6 major sects' prodigious pupils will be its greatest nourishment. The purple-clothed man revealed an eerie smile on his face. The Dark Soul Beast raised and bred by the purple-clothed man and the others had already reached peak phase tier 7 and must devour enough tier 8 demonic beasts or venerable sword masters to be able to advance. The tier 8 demonic beasts were all hidden in secretive or dangerous places all over the continent, so the devil cultivators naturally wouldn't risk such huge dangers to find and kill them. First, tier 8 demonic beasts weren't stupid either, as if they would stay in one place to be caught, and second, even if they fell into an array they set up, it would only be one, and would require a lot of time and energy. Such a deal was definitely a loss. Meanwhile, human sword masters were different. They planned to lure elite pupils from various sects, and with one array, they would be trapped, and the Dark Soul Beast only needed to devour and refine the pupil's soul essence. It would definitely advance to tier 8 in a year. If you want to turn us into nourishment for the Dark Soul Beast, you also need to have that ability. Ming Xiu raised an eyebrow. Jun Luochen's voice sounded in Lu Mu Yan's sea of consciousness, little girl, that Dark Soul Beast is a great supplement to me. As long as I devour it and refine it, my main soul will be completely consolidated and stabilized. You mean you want me to give you that Dark Soul Beast to nourish you? Lu Mu Yen rolled her eyes. Hee, don't worry, after my main soul consolidates, there'll naturally be plenty of benefits for you. Jun Luochen said. He could do nothing else. His main soul was on the verge of collapse, so even if he turned from a devil cultivator to a ghost cultivator, he wouldn't be able to easily do it. But as long as he devoured this Dark Soul Beast, he could completely consolidate his spirit soul, and he could even help Lu Mu Yen deal with high-level sword masters when it came time. Lu Mu Yen weighed the pros and cons inwardly. Although there were great hidden dangers lurking in saving this devil lord, but the benefits also existed. In the future, she would also ascend to Guanling World, and it would also be an extremely interesting event to take the devil lord and Mo Yen to slaughter their way back to retrieve the things that originally belonged to them. Sure. I'll get this Dark Soul Beast that delivered itself to our door for you to devour. You'll help me do 3 things in the future. Lu Mu Yen added after a bit, of course, I won't get you to die. The corner of Jun Luochen's lips twitched. Since he became a devil lord for so many years, no one had dared to speak to him with such a tone. Lu Mu Yen really was the first. Alright. I promise you. Swear with a heart demon. Lu Mu Yen said. Jun Luochen gritted his teeth and asked, you don't believe me? Do you think that I, a righteous faction's pupil, will believe you, a devil race person? Not to mention that you're the former devil lord. Lu Mu Yen said casually. Her nature was actually rather cold, and only those who had truly entered her heart would she give her full trust to. This devil lord was obviously not included. The heart demon oath was very vicious, and no human nor demonic beast dared to violate it. Unless the person who made the oath didn't want to advance, otherwise once they violated the oath they made on their heart demon, then a shadow of a soaring devil from beyond the highest heavens would cause trouble at critical moments of advancement. Not only would they fail to advance successfully, they may even lose their intelligence and become a mere puppet. Jun Luochen choked. Although he cooperated with Lu Mu Yen, but he didn't trust her entirely either. The relationship they established wasn't very reliable, and was only just using each other. Alright. I swear by my heart demon. Jun Luochen swore without hesitation. At this time, the man in purple had already activated the array and circles of black cyclones appeared in the array. The pupils of the 6 major sects only felt that the essence of their bodies were fading little by little. Although slow, but it was enough to make them terrified. Qi Xiu, save us quickly. The leading pupil of the vast mountain sect shouted anxiously. The purple-clothed man raised a sinister arc on his lips, pointed at Ming Xiu and instructed the men in black around them, treat him well. Obviously, in his eyes, Ming Xiu wasn't qualified to let him act. Can you break that array? Ming Xiu turned to Lu Muyen and asked. Lu Muyen nodded, I can. If she no longer hid her talent and strength in arrays, then it wasn't difficult for her to quickly break the array. I'll hold these devil cultivators back, you go and rescue them first. Ming Xiu's eyes were filled with trust. All right. Lu Muyen held a golden longsword and walked towards the array. However, the men in black all ignored her existence along the way and directly attacked Ming Xiu. I'm actually ignored by them. The corner of Lu Muyen's lips twitched, looked at Mo Yan on her shoulder and asked, I'm that bad? Mo Yan's indifferent eyes were filled with smiles. Didn't you like to act as an innocent pig to eat tigers the most? Isn't this perfect for you? But it doesn't feel good to be ignored by everyone. Lu Muyen shrugged and joked. The purple-clothed man naturally saw Lu Muyen's actions but ignored it. What a joke. A girl with only sword sovereign cultivation base had the ability to break a grade 5 array? Yes. This time they arranged a grade 5 array on the top of the mountain. After all, the pupils of the 6 major sects that were trapped were basically all sword venerables. If it were a grade 4 array, and there was an array master among them, then it would be impossible to trap them to death. Meanwhile grade 5 arrays were different. Even a sword saint sword master powerhouse wouldn't be able to break it quickly. Lu Muyen walked to the array and took out an array compass as she squatted down for a look while Ming Xiu slayed all the men in black who besieged him. The man in purple didn't expect that Ming Xiu would have such power, then snorted coldly, let me clean up a thorn like you today. After speaking, in a flash, he met Ming Xiu's sword aura that he swung over. Ming Xiu deliberately moved his position, keeping the purple-clothed man away from the vicinity to let Lu Muyen display her abilities. The two fought fiercely near Dark Evil Cliff. Try attacking this point. Lu Muyen pointed to a point in the corner of the array and raised her head to say to the people inside. The leading pupil of the vast mountain sect sneered, a little child who knows no limits, do you think you can become a high-level array master because you're holding an array compass? This is a grade 5 array. If you know your limits, then get out of the way. They were all trapped in this array that could devour essence, so if they used elemental energy, it would speed up the devouring of the array. If they really listened to this 8 extreme sect girl, then they would be fools. Lu Muyen's eyes turned cold, and her entire temperament changed. She looked sharply at the leading pupil of the vast mountain sect and said coldly, shut up if you don't want to die. If it weren't that the pupils of the 8 extreme sect were also trapped in the array, she wouldn't rescue these vast mountain sect people at all. Of course, she noted down his words to tell her to get out of the way. You dare to speak to me like this? The leading pupil of the vast mountain sect didn't expect the girl outside to be so bold and tough, but the other party's gaze made him tremble. Lu Muyen was too lazy to pay attention to him. Now wasn't the time to be bickering. She shifted her gaze to Gu Xiu and Han Yi, then said lightly, just do as I say if you want to escape. If these people believed her, then she would naturally break the array with all her strength, but if they didn't, then she would be too lazy to care. This array was a soul-locking array. The key point was to lock the souls of the people trapped. It was best to attack and break the array from within. It would take an hour to break through the array if they relied on her strength. By that time, the people inside would have lost at least a third of their essence. But if they attacked from the inside and outside, then it would only take an incense stick of time. It all depended on whether the people trapped in the array believed her or not. Lu Muyen played with the array compass in her hand and looked at Gu Xiu and Han Yi without much hurry. Junior sister Lu, how confident are you in breaking this array? Gu Xiu's question represented the voice of everyone here. If they used elemental energy to break the array according to the position pointed out by Lu Muyen, then what if the array wasn't broken but their elemental essence was lost a lot faster? They must be careful about things that might not be worth the loss. 100%. Lu Muyen said calmly and confidently, what arrogance. The leading pupil of the vast mountain sect sneered disdainfully, today, even if a grade 5 array master of my sect came, they wouldn't dare say they have 100% confidence of breaking this array, let alone you, some random child from somewhere. Lu Muyen was too lazy to pay attention to him. She folded her arms and looked at the people inside indifferently, if you listen to me, you can come out within an incense stick of time. If you don't believe me, then you can go play in the array yourselves. You can break this array in just an incense stick of time? How's that possible? The medicine sect's leading pupil asked in disbelief. Lu Muyen narrowed her eyes, smiled ever so sweetly, then her face instantly turned cold, believe it or not, up to you. I'll count to 3. If you haven't decided yet, just stay in the array and enjoy the disappearance of your essence. Everyone was stunned when they watched her face flip faster than flipping a book. 1. 2. 3. Lu Muyen counted from 1 to 3 without the slightest hesitation and immediately prepared to turn and leave. Junior sister Lu, wait. Gu Xiu's voice sounded urgently. Lu Muyen turned around and looked at the people playfully, if you're a man, be clear-cut. Just give a sentence if you want me to break the array or not. Couldn't one be cautious as a man now? I believe junior sister Lu Jinsei smiled enchantingly, then a long sword appeared in her hand. The several people looked at each other, gritted their teeth and said, we believe in junior sister. At this time, Ming Xiu and the purple-clothed man were fighting so hard that they had yet to decide the outcome. What surprised them the most was that man's cultivation base was already half-foot into Sword Saint, so it would be very difficult to defeat or kill him. Han Yi also said immediately, instead of being trapped to death and being drained of essence, it's better to give it a shot. Junior sister Lu, we will listen to you. Although the pupils of the Heavenly Secret Palace and the medicine sect didn't believe that Lu Muyen could break through the array, but they could only grit their teeth when they felt the essence being lost from their bodies. You actually believe this, child? The pupils of the Vast Mountain sect looked at the other sect's pupils in disbelief and asked. So what if you don't believe it? Qi Xiu and that devil cultivator wouldn't be able to decide the outcome in a short time. Instead of sitting still, might as well fight to the death, otherwise when our essence is drained by this array, we'll all become dried corpses. Han Yi snorted coldly. He also disliked the leading pupil of the Vast Mountain sect this time. Seeing that the several people were still discussing, Lu Muyen furrowed her willow brows and said impatiently, do you still want to break it or not? Or should I come back after you've discussed it? These men were just so fussy when doing things. If they didn't break the array, they'd definitely die. Now that they had a chance to attack the array to help her break the array and be left with a sliver of hope, she didn't know what they were so worried about. Break. Although Gu Xiu didn't know much about Lu Muyen, but he knew her temperament. If they continued to delay, then she'd definitely turn and leave. Are we just attacking this place? Lu Muyen nodded, took out a black array flag and planted it on the ground. Just attack the position of this array flag. Don't hold back. If you have fire elemental energy, then try to use your fire elemental energy. Alright. Although they didn't hold much hope, but the pupils of the several major sects all took out their magic tools, ready to bombard the weak point of the array as Lu Muyen said. A pupil of the Vast Mountain sect said to their leader, senior brother, instead of waiting to die, might as well try. Let's attack. The leading pupil of the Vast Mountain sect's expression darkened, and he took a deep breath. After Lu Muyen gave her order, the pupils of the 6 major sects who were trapped all took out their magic tools to attack the weak point she pointed out. She wasn't idle either. She took out an array-breaking array flag and kept changing positions as she formed seals to continuously insert into the array flag. Try a bit harder and it'll break. Lu Muyen said to the people trapped inside after stabilizing the arranged array. With a thought, 10 golden flying swords appeared in unison and attacked that weak point with a slam. It had already come to this point. The pupils of the 6 major sects could only listen to Lu Muyen's command. They no longer hid their strength and channeled 100% of their power to attack the array. An incense stick of time had yet to pass when everyone heard a boom boom. Then a golden light flickered, and 10 golden flying swords broke through the black light curtain bit by bit from the weak point. Quick, let's help her together. Gu Xiu shouted with joy on his face. There was an unspeakable excitement on the face of others, and they continued to wave their magic tools to bombard the array. After a while, the black light cover was completely blown away and collapsed with attacks from the inside and outside. Pu. As soon as the array was broken, the man in purple who was fighting Ming Xiu suddenly spurted out a mouthful of blood. He hurriedly covered his chest and stepped back dozens of meters, looking at Lu Muyen grimly. I didn't expect you, a damned girl, to break my soul-locking array. You deserve to die. Lu Muyen looked at him without fear and raised an eyebrow. Haven't you heard that one cannot judge others by appearance, just as the sea cannot be measured by a bushel? Your mistake is that you underestimated the enemy. Then she immediately walked towards the direction of the fight between the two, her voice clear, carrying endless coldness. Whether I deserve to die or not, I don't know, but today you definitely wouldn't live. In her life, she hated the words you deserve to die the most. This man completely violated her baseline. Absurdly arrogant. The purple-clothed man's face was filled with sullenness. I'll end you now. This woman broke his soul-locking array, causing all his plans to completely fail. To think he completely ignored her earlier, he truly regretted it. Had he known earlier, he should have killed her with one palm before dealing with this man that was like a fallen immortal. Your opponent is me. Ming Xiu dodged and blocked in front of the purple-clothed man who wanted to attack Lu Muyen. The purple-clothed man looked at Ming Xiu with fear. He was already half-stepped to Sword Saint, but not only did he not have the slightest advantage in battle with this man who was only at peak phase Sword Venerable, but he even felt as if he would lose, which made him feel a little desire to retreat. Dark Soul Beast, kill that woman. The purple-clothed man looked at the pupils who came out of the array, still unwilling to miss this opportunity to raise the Dark Soul Beast. The Dark Soul Beast that was lying on the ground lazily, waiting for the array to run and feed it, couldn't sit still when it saw the array was broken. Now hearing owner's order, it rushed towards Lu Muyen with a roar. Careful. When Gu Xiu and the others saw that the size of the Dark Soul Beast instantly increased dozens of times, and a deep, dark, sharp claw grabbed towards Lu Muyen, they couldn't resist holding their breath and shouting. Ming Xiu's gaze grew cold, and he was about to step back to rescue her when he heard Lu Muyen's telepathic voice. I can deal with the Dark Soul Beast, you go kill the purple-clothed man. The man in purple should be the second boss she heard from the several people before. If he wasn't killed today and they let him return to report, it would definitely be a hidden danger. Ming Xiu halted in his steps, then responded, all right. When Ming Xiu heard Lu Muyen's confident telepathic words, he immediately retracted his steps and looked at the man in purple with cold eyes. He didn't immediately deal with this person before because, 1, he didn't want to reveal too much strength, and 2, he wanted Lu Muyen to obtain the 6 major sects pupils' favor of rescuing them. Now that the man controlled the Dark Soul Beast to attack his woman, he was already a dead person in his eyes. With the array broken, he didn't need to be polite anymore. A giant golden sword fell in his hands. Unlike the natal magic tool that Lu Muyen used the Heavenly Frost Golden Essence one to refine, Ming Xiu's natal magic tool was obviously of a higher level. The golden sword swept in an arc and a dazzling golden light like sunlight fell straight down, instantly enveloping the man in purple. At the same time, the sharp claws of the dark soul beast also fell atop of Lu Muyan's head. She didn't dodge. Her lips curled up in a vague arc and a faint orange light covered her hands. Since she obtained the orange blaze, she no longer hid the fact that she had a spirit flame, which was perfect to cover up the aura of the purple-gold spirit flame. Boom! Just when everyone thought Lu Muyan would be torn to pieces by the claws of the dark soul beast, they saw that she not only didn't retreat, but instead, advanced. A fist with soft orange light slammed out and faced the black-scaled claws of the opponent directly. There was a kind of horror in the eerie green eyes of the dark soul beast. It didn't expect that the weak woman opposite could not only withstand its sharp claws, but also beat a destructive flame into its body through that punch. Ao. The piercing pain made it wail. A cluster of orange flames flew up along its claws endlessly and stopped when it landed at its demonic soul. Seeing this, Lu Muyan leapt up immediately, punching the weak point of the dark soul beast's body one after another. Her figure constantly flashed in the air, and each time they appeared, the dark soul beast would inevitably receive attacks of fist wind. Ao. Where was the domineering aura that the dark soul beast had when it first appeared before? It kept dodging. Each time it was bombarded, it would make a miserable cry, obviously beaten horribly by Lu Muyan. That woman's actually a body cultivator. A pupil of the vast mountain sect couldn't resist swallowing while watching the one-sided abusive beating in midair. Heavens! Junior sister Lao's actually so violent. Peng Yang felt a chill on his back and decided inwardly that he would never provoke Lu Muyan. Gu Xiu went to the competition space, so he knew how strong Lu Muyan's body was, but he didn't expect that, towards the dark soul beast with an immortal body and a body whose toughness was comparable to a tier 8 demonic beast, she would not be outmatched. It truly blinded one's eyes. Jean Ses' eyes lit up, filled with admiration and excitement, mighty junior sister. The pupils of the other sects dared not underestimate her ever since Lu Muyan broke the grade 5 soul-locking array in just an incense stick of time. Now, seeing such a violent fighting style of hers, at the same time as it was eye-opening, a deep fear arose. All the leading pupils here, like Gu Xiu, found out the identity of the other party's pupils when they were at the inn. They knew that Lu Muyan was the #1 in the Tianling Continental Tournament for hegemony, but they really didn't expect her combat power to be so strong. Ao. The dark soul beast was in stabbing pain all over. It now found that this woman's fist was too powerful. Not only did it carry a kind of sword aura fist wind, but it also used spirit flames to protect the fist. If the spirit flame in its body wasn't forced out soon, it would probably be the end for it today. Suddenly, it stared with its eerie green eyes and looked at the purple-clothed man covered in golden light. The connection between owner and servant was completely cut off. It was overjoyed. It would no longer have to be controlled by that person in the future. With another punch, the dark soul beast was blasted more than 10 meters away. Its eyes turned in thought, then borrowing the force of that retrogression, it turned and ran away into the distance. Want to run? Not that easy. Lu Muyan huffed coldly and turned into a red light to chase after it. Inwardly, she couldn't help but praise this dark soul beast. It truly knew what she wanted. She was just thinking about how to avoid the eyes of the pupils of the 6 major sects and let Jun Luochen absorb and refine the dark soul beast, but then it fled to the distance on his own, which was just as she desired. At this time, Lu Muyan's flash steps was at its completion, so she soon caught up with the dark soul beast in a deserted dense forest. With a thought, clusters of orange flames formed a flaming ribbon and flew out, instantly tying the dark soul beast upright. Jun Luochen, you're still not going to come out for the supplement? Lu Muyan shouted. Before she could even finish, a black smoke emerged from her pendant around her neck, instantly enveloping the dark soul beast. Not long after, Lu Muyan heard a desperate, shrill scream from the dark soul beast, then its body continued to shrink. When it was only the size of a palm, it was swept up by the black smoke and brought into her pendant. You finished devouring it just like this? Lu Muyan asked Jun Luochen. Jun Luochen in the pendant was still hidden in a black mist, his figure looming, not so fast, but it's been sealed by me. I'll enjoy it slowly. Whatever you like. Since Lu Muyan had reached a cooperation with him, she naturally didn't care when he refined that dark soul beast. After Jun Luochen brought the dark soul beast into the pendant, she disappeared in the dense forest in a flash. When she returned to the top of the mountain, the man in purple had been killed by the golden light sword aura of Ming Xiu as expected. Junior sister Lu, are you alright? Gu Xiu sighed with relief when he saw Lu Muyan return safely. If something happened to this little ancestor here, he would definitely be stripped alive of a layer of skin by Elder Ao and the sect leader. I'm fine. Lu Muyan smiled. Where's the dark soul beast? Han Yi asked curiously, looking behind her. Because the dark soul beast was a living creature produced by refining the souls of humans or demonic beasts, so no matter which level it advanced to, it wouldn't be able to transform into a human. Moreover, the body of the Yin soul beast was actually made of endless dark evil force, which created the indestructible body that is, it couldn't be killed by ordinary sword auras or magic tools. Lu Muyan came back, but the dark soul beast disappeared. They wondered if she had killed it or not. Ran away. Lu Muyan shrugged and said helplessly. She chased out aggressively just now and returned after a long time. Now that she said the dark soul beast ran away, no one would believe such an excuse. You didn't take the dark soul beast all for yourself, did you? The excuse that it ran away is too fake. The leading pupil of the vast mountain sect thought and said. Even though the dark soul beast was conceived by a devil cultivator, but it was also of great help to sword cultivators who cultivated a righteous path. If one used its blood essence to refine one's body, it would be half the effort with double the results. Lu Mu Yen was prepared to find trouble for this pupil of the vast mountain sect to begin with, but who knew had come out first. She sneered. Her figure was like a ghost, disappearing in front of everyone, using her flash steps. The leading pupil of the vast mountain sect only felt that her eyes were too threatening, then after seeing her disappear, an ominous feeling rose in his heart that he had never felt before. His neck suddenly felt a chill. When Lu Mu Yen appeared in front of everyone again, she suddenly stood on the side of the leading pupil of the vast mountain sect and choked his neck with one hand. I didn't expect you to be so tall and big, but have such a thin neck. I wonder if it'll make a sound of broken bones if it's crushed. Lu Mu Yan's stunning face bloomed with a smile as beautiful as a poppy. I like hearing the sound of bones cracking the most. How about everyone? One for a while now, perhaps the last dozen or so times it was mentioned, the author's actually been using extreme frost golden crystal, as opposed to heavenly frost golden crystal. Seeing that Lu Mu Yan's body technique made her move like a ghost as she suddenly grabbed the neck of the leading pupil of the vast mountain sect, smiling beautifully and movingly, but say such words that made one's scalp numb, the pupils of the several sects didn't know how to describe their mood at this time. Junior sister, I haven't heard the sound of a broken neck before, how about you give it a try? Jean Say smiled enchantingly, lest the world not be chaotic. Demoness, the women of the 8 Extremes sect were all lunatics. At this time, the pupils of the several sects secretly made up their minds to never ever offend the pupils of the 8 Extremes sect. Jean Say beat up a pupil of the vast mountain sect half to death last time. This beauty named Lu Mu Yen looked even more ruthless. Why you dare? The leading pupil of the vast mountain sect only felt that Lu Mu Yan's hand was clasping tighter and tighter. He couldn't breathe as fear rose in his heart. Our 6 sects are here to complete a mission, you can't kill me. Lu Mu Yan's lips curled into a smile, her voice soft, oh yeah, now we're completing a 6 sects joint mission so I indeed can't kill you. She took her hand away from the pupil's neck, took out a piece of silk from her sleeve, wiped it, and tossed it away. Seeing this, the leading pupil's eyes were filled with anger, but he didn't say anything harsh. But although I can't kill you, it doesn't mean I can't beat you up. Lu Mu Yen curbed her smile, then huffed coldly, I've been thinking you're very unpleasant to my eyes for a long time. Since you want to send yourself to my door to beat you up, then you're also looking for it. You the vast mountain sect's leading pupil froze and didn't think that Lu Mu Yan's face would flip so quickly. He only said one word when a punch landed in his face. Lu Mu Yen didn't cover her hands with spirit flames. She couldn't kill during a 6 sects mission. If she killed or crippled him, it would inevitably lead to deeper conflicts between the 2 sects. But it was still very necessary for him to be beaten half to death and lie down for at least 2 months. The vast mountain sect was a sect that focused on body refining to begin with. When Lu Mu Yen threw the first punch, the pupil hadn't reacted, but when she threw the second punch, the pressure of his whole body exploded, and his body swelled rapidly. He caught Lu Mu Yan's fist with his palm and sneered proudly, do you really think you can hurt me? My cultivation base is an entire stage higher than yours. Being able to become the inner pupil of the vast mountain sect and the leader of this mission, he naturally wasn't some useless person. Lu Mu Yan's eyes curled with fighting intent, really? Then after I beat you to the point where you can't even get up, let's see if you have the face to say such things. Humph, bold words, you are too arrogant. The leading pupil was furious. I'm just arrogant, what can you do to me? Lu Mu Yen narrowed her eyes and smiled brightly. Then, she disappeared in a flash, and everyone only saw her figure constantly appearing around the pupil of the vast mountain sect. It even seemed that dozens of figures were punching and bombarding him at the same time. Junior sister's movements are really amazing. Jean Say looked at Lu Mu Yen with amazement. A rare smile appeared on Peng Yang's face, her body is even stronger than that of the pupils of the vast mountain sect. This junior sister really hides well. Gu Xiu had seen Lu Mu Yen beat people up on the crystal wall in the competition space. He used to think she was too violent, but now he felt very pleased watching her beat up the pupil of the vast mountain sect. He wasn't the only one who thought this way. The several pupils of the 8 Extremes sect all felt that Lu Mu Yan's beating was very good. Standing not far away, hugging the golden sword in his arms, Ming Xiu watched Lu Mu Yen beat him up with a smile in his eyes. Even he didn't notice the doting within them. At the beginning, the leading pupil could still take a few fists from Lu Mu Yen, but as time went on, her ghostly figure became faster and faster, and his reaction was always a beat slower. And what did it mean when one's reaction was slower one beat during a battle? If it wasn't death, then it was to be beaten. Screams after screams came from his mouth. After a while, everyone saw Lu Mu Yen beating the vast mountain sect's pupil to the ground. He no longer had the strength to fight back, and only kept screaming. But she was relentless. She didn't use any elemental energy and merely punched the opponent's weak spot punch after punch, which would not only cause the opponent to hurt for 2 months, but absolutely no injuries could be seen either. Seeing this, the other pupils of the vast mountain sect all took a deep breath and glanced at each other. If their senior brother was beaten to death by Lu Mu Yen, and they returned all unharmed, they would probably be severely punished by the sect. Junior sister Lu, aren't you belittling the vast mountain sect too much by doing this? A pupil, enduring the gaze of many people, walked up to Lu Mu Yen, and said bravely. Lu Mu Yen stopped what she was doing, stepped on the pupil's back and crushed it heavily. She turned her head and looked at the person who opened their mouth with a smile, and raised an eyebrow as she asked, "Why, do you want to take his place?" That pupil shrank his neck. Even senior brother wasn't this demoness opponent, he'd be crazy to take his place and be beaten. What I mean is, our 6 sects came to complete a mission together. It'll be hard to explain if you beat our senior brother to death when we return. You would also need to explain when you return to the sect. How about you just let him go? He was also telling the truth. If Lu Mu Yen really killed the leading pupil of their vast mountain sect this time, she would definitely be severely punished when she returned. After all, in the past, the pupils of the 6 major sects only killed each other in places like secret realms where people wouldn't be able to see each other. It was absolutely forbidden to kill each other in public. Lu Mu Yen smiled beautifully. Who said I'm going to kill him? I just want to learn some body refining skills from this senior brother. We're just exchanging pointers. Are your eyes not that good that you can't even see that? She had a smile on her face, but her voice was as cool as the night. Exchanging pointers, of course it's exchanging pointers. That pupil looked down at his senior brother's tragic state and decided that it was still best not to offend this demoness, otherwise he'd be the one who would turn into a pig's head. Lu Mu Yen gave him a look as if to say he was wise and said with a smile, "Senior brother's eyes are indeed good. You can take him away." She retrieved her foot and sighed with disappointment. I thought I could learn a little more, but who knew that he's that weak, truly a disappointment. Hearing her words, the corners of the other sect's pupils' lips couldn't help but twitch. Did you think that everyone's as abnormally monstrous as you? The pupils of the vast mountain sect finally sighed with relief when they heard her words. They quickly fed a healing pill to the leading pupil to cure his internal injuries and helped the already comatose person to the side, far away from Lu Mu Yen, for fear that the moment she became unhappy, she'd come back to make up a few kicks. Junior sister beat him up well. They're just scumbags who need a lesson. Jin Sei swept the pupils of the vast mountain sect with a sharp gaze and said with a smile. Lu Mu Yen beating up that person made them very happy, and her affection for her rose a little more. Senior sister is right. Fists are the hard truths. Lu Mu Yen returned with a smile. The other pupils really wanted to just kneel for these 2 peerlessly beautiful women with different temperaments who were discussing such violent things. The 8 extreme sect really was a place where demonesses all came out from, each of them extremely fierce. Brother Qi, the missing pupils of the several major sects have already been found. Should we head back to the sect to report this matter? Gu Xiu immediately stepped forward to ask Ming Xiu in order to distract the others' attention from Lu Mu Yen. Ming Xiu waved his hand and said with a smile, "This matter has come to an end. You can all leave first if you want to go back and hand in the mission." Previous chapter. Next chapter. The pupils of the several major sects had their own thoughts when they heard that there was something more in Ming Xiu's words. Since the mission has been completed, our vast mountain sect will take our leave first. A pupil of the vast mountain sect cupped his hands and said to the pupils of the other sects. No matter what the heavenly secret palace wanted to do, they had no intention of getting involved. Their vast mountain sect had suffered the most this time, and they were simply unable to continue to complete missions. The most important thing right now was to bring their senior brother and their unconscious pupils back to the sect. Alright, be careful along the way. Ming Xiu nodded with a light smile. After the pupils of the vast mountain sect left, the pupils of the other sects were also a little unable to stand still. Han Yi had a more direct temperament, so he leaned over to Ming Xiu and asked with a smile, "Brother Qi, you want to stay here?" "Yes. Our heavenly secret palace isn't going to leave right now." Ming Xiu didn't deny either. "Brother Qi, how about telling us what your plans are?" Han Yi continued to ask, and the other pupils pricked up their ears to listen. Ming Xiu looked in the direction of the dark soul beast and said, "Although one leader of the devil cultivators has been killed by us, but we don't know if there are any more other devil cultivators still hiding in Falling Ghost River, and that dark soul beast also escaped. I'm afraid it might continue to make trouble, so I'm prepared to go look for it then return to the sect." "So that's how it is. Since that's the case, it wouldn't be good for us to leave. Let's investigate the devil cultivators together." Han Yi pondered for a while before saying. "Sure." Ming Xiu didn't refuse either. Han Yi's reaction was as he expected. The pupils of the sword sect didn't leave, while the pupils of the other sects were naturally unable to leave immediately upon hearing them, and they all expressed that they wanted to remain to investigate. All the missing pupils of the 6 major sects were now rescued. This time, the 5 remaining sect pupils didn't split up, and instead searched together in the mountains. Lu Mu Yen glanced to the cliff at the top of the mountain, and saw that the sky above the cliff was shrouded in a layer of dark mist while a chill emerged from the bottom of the cliff. She furrowed her willow brows and asked Jun Luochen in the pendant, "Do you know that dark evil cliff? My main soul had always been in the land of inheritance before, so I don't know much about this interface." Jun Luochen paused, then said, "However, the dark evil force spreading from that dark evil cliff is extremely strong. It's difficult for even a devil cultivator to deeply cultivate in it. You'd better not target the dark evil cliff. Although you have your spirit flame, but your cultivation base is too low. If you forcefully go to the bottom of the cliff, you may lose your consciousness in the dark evil force," he added. Lu Mu Yen chuckled and asked meaningfully, "Why do you think I'm interested in the dark evil cliff? When have you, woman, ever lived in peace? Although the dark evil cliff is very dangerous, but there would definitely birth many good things at the bottom of the cliff." Jun Luochen joked, "With your temperament, it's already pretty good that you can endure until now and not go." Lu Mu Yen rolled her eyes, "You sure know me well." She really did have that thought. There must be a lot of spiritual herbs suitable for refining high-level pills, as well as spiritual items, under the cliff with dense dark evil force. Most importantly, if she infused the dark evil into her body to temper her muscles and bones, her sorcerer's skill she cultivated could definitely grow stronger a layer, and it would be much easier to break through the bottleneck. It was just that with her current cultivation base, she indeed couldn't enter into the bottom of the dark evil cliff, and this matter still needed long-term planning. Don't tell me you really wanted to go down. Jun Luo Chen's voice revealed surprise. Rubbish, of course. But not now. I'll try it when I advance to Sword Venerable. Lu Mu Yen said carefreely. The corner of Jun Luo Chen's lips twitched, and he said speechlessly, "You're a crazy woman." If there was no special method to resist the erosion of the dark force, even if a sword saint came, they would be trapped in it. However, he remembered that he had seen many of Lu Mu Yan's methods while staying in the pendant. Maybe she really had a way to go down to the bottom of the cliff. After all, this woman shouldn't be seen as a normal person. He rubbed his chin and hooked his lips upwards in an anticipating arc. If this woman really came to the dark evil cliff to search for spiritual herbs, he could use the dark evil force there to completely transform his main soul into a ghost cultivator. Ming Xiu led the pupils of the 5 sects to search around the dark evil cliff for 2 days, and they found no trace of the devil cultivators anymore. That one dark soul beast that had already entered Jun Luo Chen's stomach naturally couldn't be found. Then, they inspected the other 2 mountains and found that there were still many wandering cultivators and mercenaries going missing, but the 5 sects didn't meet any devil cultivators, so the opponents must be avoiding them deliberately. 5 days later, countless colorful rays of light suddenly fell from the sky above the falling ghost river, and a black light from the bottom of dark evil cliff shot straight into the sky, a spectacular scene. Anyone who wasn't far from falling ghost river all discovered the anomalous phenomenon. In a deep mountain, a man in black leaned against a big tree with his eyes closed, resting. When the anomalous phenomena appeared, he immediately opened his eyes, a gaze like blazing torches. Has it finally begun to conceive and give birth? He murmured to himself, then disappeared in place. On the only path not far from the falling ghost river, a group of people were currently on their way. When they saw the countless rays of light falling from the sky, they were overjoyed. "Your Royal Highness, the obsidian fluorite will soon be born," a white-haired elderly man said to the man in blue above. The blue-clothed man's deep eyes glowed with a deep blue light, and an arc raised on his lips. National Teacher's prediction ability is getting more and more accurate. It is not in vain that this king has been lurking in this small interface for a few years. This old servant will congratulate your Royal Highness first. The white-clothed elderly man's cultivation base was obviously much higher than the blue-clothed man on the surface, but he was very respectful to him. The blue-clothed man's gentle appearance didn't change at all. "This time, I heard that the 6 major sects have also sent a lot of elite pupils to come to complete a mission, and a lot of the devil cultivators lurking on Tianling continent have also been dispatched. I'm afraid it's not that easy for me to snatch the obsidian fluorite. The strength of the 6 major sects' elite pupils compared to our party is vastly different, and they are not our opponents. If those old fellows came, then we may need to be afraid a little." The white-clothed elderly man continued carefreely. "As for the hidden devil cultivators, there may be high-level ones hiding, but this interface can suppress the strength of our cultivation base, so at the same time, they wouldn't be able to escape. I believe that the obsidian fluorite will eventually still fall into your Royal Highness' hands." The blue-clothed man had a determined smile on his lips. "This king is only here for the obsidian fluorite, that's why I projected an avatar onto this small interface. Naturally, failure isn't allowed." He raised his eyes and looked at the falling ghost river not far away, and a strange feeling rose in his heart. The pupils of the 5 major sects had absolutely no idea that there were 2 waves of powerful enemies rushing to falling ghost river at this time, and they were all excited when they saw the anomalous phenomena. This kind of anomalous phenomena is the harbinger of the birth of a spiritual item. The leading pupil of the medicine sect, Han Yi, had a look of interest. "I didn't expect that staying a few more days to investigate the devil cultivators would allow us to encounter such kind of good luck. I wonder what sort of spiritual item will be born to have such a strong anomalous phenomena appear." Gu Xiu's eyes were filled with anticipation. Lu Mu Yen swept the expressions of the surrounding pupils with her gaze. They were so excited right now, but she wondered how shocked they would be when they arrived at the falling ghost river and large numbers of devil cultivators or other forces came to compete for the spiritual herbs, or simply how many of them would still be alive. The pupils of the 5 major sects were all excited, and they began to be fearful and wary of each other. After all, if any high-level spiritual items were born, the pupils of their 5 sects would definitely not be able to cooperate as harmoniously as they were now, and they would inevitably contend for it. "Brother Qi, do you think we should go to the falling ghost river?" Han Yi asked Ming Xiu for advice with a smile. Hearing Han Yi's question, the other pupils also looked at Ming Xiu. Although this mission was a 6 major sects joint mission, but the heavenly secret palace was at the head of the 6 major sects. Ming Xiu was also the most powerful existence among them, so everyone basically considered him the leader. "Of course we will go there. But there's something I need to make clear." Ming Xiu's smile was very light. The leading pupil of the medicine sect asked, "Brother Qi, please speak. When we arrive at Falling Ghost River, if there really is some spiritual item born, everyone will snatch it on their own, and whoever snatches it will be whose, but we are not allowed to kill each other." Ming Xiu swept the leaders of the several sects present with a sharp gaze. "All right." The others replied without hesitation. What Ming Xiu said was exactly what the pupils of the several sects thought. After all, if there really was a peak-quality spiritual item being born, no one would want to give it to the people of the other sects. The smile on Lu Muyan's lips was even deeper. This was very good. The group didn't hesitate any longer and quickly rushed towards Falling Ghost River. When they arrived at Falling Ghost River, they saw countless colorful clouds hanging above the dark river water. The transparent black mist that was born was entwined in layers and a fragrant scent spread from the water. It was indescribably eerie. What kind of spiritual item is it that it actually triggers such anomalous phenomena? Gu Xiu looked at the anomalous phenomena opposite the river in surprise. Yeah. But don't you think it's strange? The leading pupil of the Spirit Tamers sect said solemnly. What's so strange? Han Yi asked. The pupil of the Spirit Tamers sect looked around and said, each time a spiritual item is born, there will be no shortage of demonic beasts to snatch it wildly. At least there would be one powerful demonic beast to guard it, but right now, we don't see anything. Hearing him say that, everyone also felt it strange, wondering if this wasn't actually the birth of a spiritual item. If they knew that there was already a tier 9 demonic beast sleeping underwater, I wonder if they would quickly escape right now. Mo Yan's light eyes flashed indifferently. Lu Muyan rubbed her chin and said, tier 9 demonic beasts are a body of treasures, and their demonic core could refine a lot of pills. The eyes of Miao Miao and her other spirit pets couldn't help but light up when they heard this. There's a tier 9 demonic beast king in this river, so even if there is a spiritual item being born with this anomalous phenomena, the other demonic beasts wouldn't dare step into its territory to compete with him. Ming Xiu said leisurely. The 6 sects were on a mission together, so he wouldn't watch most of these people from the other sects go die, so he reminded them first. What? A tier 9 demonic beast? The others were startled. One must know that the strength of a tier 9 demonic beast was comparable to that of a sword saint powerhouse. Most importantly, a tier 9 demonic beast was capable of refining their own natal magic tool, could cultivate demonic methods, and the combat power exerted by many demonic beasts was even stronger than that of same-level sword saint powerhouses. Brother Qi, you mean to say that there are no demonic beasts gathered here mainly because of the deterrent effect of the tier 9 demonic beast underwater? Gu Xiu thought about it and asked. Ming Xiu nodded, yes. This water demon of Falling Ghost River is a king. Although he's still sleeping, but no demonic beast dares to set foot in its territory. Waking him up will only result in the path to death. That tier 9 demonic beast is probably sleeping here to guard the spiritual herb. Han Yi's expression changed again and again. If high-level spiritual items were discovered by demonic beasts before their birth, then they would stay where they were and not let other demonic beasts have the opportunity to take them away. The level of a spiritual herb that could be guarded by a tier 9 demonic beast was also at least earth rank. It was just a pity that their cultivation base was too low. If they wanted to snatch food from the tier 9 demonic beast, it was basically impossible. The pupils of the other sects also looked hopeless. The guardian demonic beast of tier 9 was something they simply couldn't match. How about we send a message to the sect and let the elders of sword saint level come over? The pupil of the medicine sect suggested. Ming Xiu thought about it, then said, sounds good. Spiritual items were only born for a day at most, and it was useless even to wait for the elders of the 5 major sects to come. However, when the time came, it could also distract the attention of those old fellows. Hearing Ming Xiu's approval, the pupils of the 5 sects immediately took out their communication talismans and activated it. Then what do we do now? Han Yi asked. Wait. Ming Xiu just said one word. Half a day later, countless clouds fell over Falling Ghost River and dozens of black beams of light shot directly into the sky. The spiritual item is soon to be born. The pupils of the several major sects all stood up and looked not far away. Suddenly, a group of people in black emerged from the mountain forest on one side, and the leader was the person Lu Muyan and the others met last time. With just your abilities, you also want to compete for the obsidian fluorite? The black-clothed man in the lead had a stern expression, and his whole person exuded a chilling aura. Although his aura was restrained, one could still feel his powerful aura. Sword Saint Powerhouse. The pupils of the 5 major sects couldn't help sucking in a deep breath inwardly. Gu Xiu had a solemn expression, and he turned his head to Lu Muyan and the others, saying telepathically, this devil cultivator is an advanced phase sword saint. Run away when you see the opportunity. Jin Sei and the several people agreed one after another. An advanced phase sword saint wasn't an existence they could shake at all. They could kill them all with one move. Lu Muyan narrowed her eyes and telepathically said to Mo Yan, it seems that we'll need to use that secret skill to deal with what happens next. She had the ability to skip stage battle. She was now an advanced phase sword sovereign, so it wasn't a big problem to kill a peak phase sword venerable with all her strength, but if she was against a sword saint, then she could only be beaten. Of course, it was still possible to escape from the hands of a sword saint, but with her current strength, she could only do as much. If she used Mo Yan's secret skill, however, she could barely just fight a sword saint. Your honor is Shen Mufeng right? Ming Xiu looked at the man in black hugging his golden sword and didn't show a look of terror like the other pupils. The man in black casually raised his head and said, how did you know? Your honor is ranked 10th on the most wanted rankings from the 6 major sects. As long as the pupils have accepted the mission to kill you, they will see your portrait. Ming Xiu said pointedly. Shen Mufeng raised an eyebrow, so you've already accepted the mission of chasing and killing me? Indeed. Your honor's head is worth 100,000 sect contribution points, so I naturally wouldn't miss this opportunity. Ming Xiu's thin lips parted lightly, his expression indifferent. The others looked at him in surprise when they heard what Ming Xiu said, wondering if he took the wrong medicine. He was indeed a sword venerable, and also heard that he had the ability to skip stage battle. The half-saint who was killed by him before was an example, but the one standing opposite was an advanced phase sword saint devil cultivator. If they were that easy to kill, the 6 major sects wouldn't have ranked him as the 10th person on their wanted rankings to pursue and kill. But was Ming Xiu a fool or took the wrong medicine? Obviously not possible. It seemed that they all underestimated the strength of this number one genius pupil of the heavenly secret palace's inner sect. This was what the pupils of the 6 major sects all thought. Haha, suddenly, a pleasant-sounding, gentle male voice sounded from behind. It seems that I'm not too late, I arrived just in time to watch this good show. Hearing this gentle male voice, everyone looked behind. A handsome, warm-looking young man walked towards them with a team of people. He was wearing a blue robe, which made him look even more elegant and tall. His entire body carried a gentle feeling, like a spring breeze, and it was easy for one to only care about his temperament and ignore his cultivation base. As soon as Lu Muyen turned around, she met the other's pair of blue eyes, which were deep and clear, like they were carved from the best spar in the world. Lan Si. Although the other party had changed a lot in both temperament and appearance, but she still recognized him at a glance. Lan Si saw Lu Muyen wearing a red robe that wrapped around her beautiful figure, still filled with the same elegance as when she wore her purple clothes, but with a little more of a valiant feeling. Little Yenner, I didn't expect us to meet again. Lan Si didn't show any surprise that Lu Muyen was a pupil of the 8 Extreme sect and appeared here. He knew her information well. Lu Muyen furrowed her brows slightly. I'm not that familiar with you. She knew that Lan Si's gentle and elegant skin was definitely a disguise, and his identity wasn't as simple from beginning to end. It now seemed that she had guessed correctly. We went to the glacial mountain range together to participate in the trial. Why is it that you turn around and become so alienated from me? It truly hurts my heart. Lan Si's handsome appearance was filled with grievances, as if he had been an abandoned little daughter-in-law. Lu Muyen rolled her eyes at him speechlessly and didn't reply. She didn't bother to care about this fox. Meanwhile, the people behind Lan Si twitched the corners of their mouths in complete astonishment. They had never seen His Royal Highness get along with any woman like this before. What? The sea race also wants to share some porridge? Shen Mufeng's expression grew a little grim when he saw Lan Si bringing people here. If it was just a Ming Xiu, he would still have confidence in killing him and snatching the obsidian fluorite, but if the people of the sea race were included, then it would be a big problem. When Gu Xiu and the others heard Shen Mufeng say sea race, their expressions changed instantly. There was a sea kingdom in the northernmost sea region of Tianling continent. There, it was a world of the sea race. The sea race was very strong, and they would fight with the human sword masters every century. They obviously didn't expect that the people of the sea race who were so far away would actually come to the Falling Ghost River. They guessed that the spiritual item in the Falling Ghost River couldn't only be at Earth rank, and was most likely at Heaven rank, otherwise the sword saints of the Devil race and sea race wouldn't come here on purpose. Gu Xiu walked beside Lu Muyen and asked in a whisper, you know the sword saint of the sea race? I do. He used to be an instructor lurking in the Empire Academy of Yanzhou Kingdom. I didn't expect him to be a member of the sea race either. Lu Muyen furrowed her brows deeply. She used to think that Lan Si had an extraordinary origin and that his cultivation base was deliberately sealed by himself, but she didn't expect him to be a member of the sea race. Most importantly, they hadn't seen each other for 2 years, but Lan Si's cultivation base had reached peak phase sword saint, and there were 2 sword saints and 5 sword venerables in the group of the sea race people behind him. It would be trickier to snatch the obsidian fluorite now. So it seems that Little Beauty and the people of the sea race have a very close relationship. An arc of a smile rose on Shen Mufeng's stern face and he looked at Lu Muyen, saying, I was just saying how I looked forward to meeting next time, but I didn't expect us to see each other so soon. Lu Muyen glanced at Shen Mufeng coldly. Was this damned man trying to sow discord between her and the 5 major sects pupils? What did it mean by that she had a close relationship with the people of the sea race? What did he mean by looking forward to their next meeting? Wasn't this obviously saying that she was colluding with the sea race and the devil race? Yeah. I've also been looking forward to seeing you. She smiled sweetly, but there was no warmth in her eyes, and she continued, you're worth 100,000 contribution points. If I kill you, there'll be no shortage of cultivation resources when I return. Shen Mufeng was stunned for a moment, then laughed aloud, good. Since my life is that valuable, if you have the ability, then feel free to take it. TSK, Little Yenner actually lacked sect contribution points that much. Lan Si walked lightly towards Lu Muyen, placed his face close and said, how about I help you kill him? Lu Muyen glanced at Lan Si coldly. A golden light emerged from her sleeve and Lan Si's pupils constricted as he dodged quickly. Boom! A huge tree behind him was immediately split in half by the golden light. Stay far away from me. Lu Muyen said with disgust. Seeing a slender golden needle returning to her sleeve, Lan Si narrowed his eyes, Little Yenner is so cruel. If I took a step too late, I would have become the dead soul under your needle. Enough nonsense. Talk about your purpose. Lu Muyen rolled her eyes. Lan Si chuckled, we naturally came for the obsidian fluorite. Shen Mufeng is also here for the obsidian fluorite, can you beat him? Lu Muyen blinked and said, since the pupils of our 5 sects aren't strong enough, then we won't bother, you guys can play slowly. The obsidian fluorite is about to be born. I wonder which side will get it first. It's truly enviable. She glanced at the 2 and added. Ming Xiu's eyes that were as deep as the sea swept across Lan Si with coldness. The projected avatar of the South Sea King from one of the 4 sea races? He saw the deep interest in Lu Muyen in Lan Si's eyes, and a killing intent rose in his heart. So what about the avatar of the South Sea King? If he dared to covet his woman, he would let Lan Si know that there were some people that he shouldn't think of. Little Yenner, you sowing discord is too obvious. You want us to fight until we're both severely injured then let you, the fisherman, benefit one? Lan Si knew Lu Mu Yan's temperament very well. This little fox wanted to do something bad again. Lu Mu Yan looked at him with a look as if to say you've discovered the truth and said, that's exactly it. So are you going to fight? Could it be that you want to cooperate to divide up the obsidian fluorite? Actually, that's not a bad idea for the both of you. The pupils of the 5 major sects couldn't resist but twitched their eyelids when they heard her give them ideas. Just which side was she standing with? If the Sword Saints of the Sea race really joined forces and eventually divided the obsidian fluorite, then wouldn't they be in danger? Shenmu Feng and Lan Si looked at Lu Mu Yan who was smiling like a flower and couldn't help twitching the corners of their lips. She must have said this because she knew it was absolutely impossible for them to cooperate. We Devil Race and the Sea Race have always been at odds with each other, so let's not cooperate. Shenmu Feng continued, but little beauty, it'll also be impossible for you to profit as the fisherman. Then you can fight first, don't worry about us. Lu Mu Yan urged, after the fight, you'll be eligible to compete for the obsidian fluorite. Both the Sea Race and the Devil Race wanted to swallow the obsidian fluorite for themselves. It was inevitable to fight. Right now, both sides had powerful Sword Saint powerhouses. Shi and Ming Xiao belonged to the disadvantageous group, so of course, they must attack accurately with one shot. Lan Si and Shenmu Feng were both rather cautious and fearful of each other. Both of them were avatars projected onto this interface, and even if Lan Si's cultivation base was stronger, but they would still be a match when they fought. For the obsidian fluorite, they had no other choice but to fight. They both lurked on this small interface for the sake of the obsidian fluorite, so naturally no mistakes were allowed. Lan Si, do you dare to fight me? Shenmu Feng raised an eyebrow and asked. What's there to not dare? Let me experience some methods of the Devil Race's holy son. Lan Si's fighting spirit was high. The Devil Race and the Sea Race confronted each other and both wanted to kill the other side first, then swallow the obsidian fluorite for themselves in a bit. Meanwhile, Lu Mu Yan and the pupils of the other 5 major sects were completely ignored by Thema group of Sword Venerable Cultivation pupils only, they wouldn't care about them. Seeing how the two parties quickly fought together, the pupils of the 5 major sects were completely dumbfounded. The two teams really listened to Lu Mu Yan's instigation and started fighting. started fighting. 1. It comes from the well-known Chinese idiom which means, literally, when the snipe and clam grapple, it's the fisherman who stands to benefit.